Hello guys, welcome back. In this video, let us learn one more important service in AWS. So let's say you created your own website and now, now you hosted your website using EC2 servers. Okay, yeah. So now created now you created multiple servers by using EC2 instances. Then how can you provide a single IP address to user? Then how can you provide a single IP address to user? You use elastic load balancer, right? Yeah. We use elastic load balancer to distribute the traffic among my servers. Let's say I hosted my servers under EC2 instances. Okay. So each and every EC2 instance will provide me same IP address? No. This will provide me some different IP address, and this will provide me some different IP address, and this will provide me some different IP address. Let's say I have multiple clients here. Let's say I have multiple clients here. Now, which IP address do I provide? This EC2 instance IP address, or this EC2 instance IP address, or this EC2 instance IP address? No, I do not provide any EC2 instance IP address, because if I provide one EC2 instance IP address, then all my clients will at a time interact with this EC2 instance, and this will not even overcome the load. So at this case, what I require? I need a distributor. I need a traffic distributor among these all EC2 instances. So what is the traffic distributor? What is the request distributor that we use in AWS? Elastic load balancer. So let's say I have created an elastic load balancer for distributing traffic from my clients to all the EC2 instances. What this do? This will distribute the request based on round robin method. So based on round robin method, it first distributes the traffic to first EC2 instance, then it distributes to second EC2 instance, then this elastic load balancer will distribute traffic to this EC2 instance. Like that, it will distribute. So client, so which IP address do I give to the client? This IP address. This elastic load balancer IP address I'll give to the client. Now let us see how elastic load balancer IP address will looks like. So this elastic load balancer IP address, this elastic load balancer IP address will something look like this. You can see some name and some ID number is there, and whatever the region that you created this elastic load balancer, that region is there, and then elb.amazon.com. So any elastic load balancer IP address will look like this. So can I say I'll provide this to my users? No, right? My company website is, let's say, btech Spark. My company name is btech Spark. Now, is it good for me to provide this elastic load balancer to my clients? No, right? Yeah. So we do not provide this elastic load balancer address to our clients. What we provide? Instead of this, what we provide? btechspark.com. So something URL will be like this: www.btechspark.com. Hey user, if you click this, then you can able to get my response. Then how is it possible? My elastic load balancer IP address is this, but I am providing this. What is this? What do we call this? We call this as domain name. What is this? This is a domain name. Now, who is the person which is present in between? Who is the person which is present in between where my client requests for this domain name? Then that person will convert this domain name to this elastic load balancer IP address. Who is that person who sits in between and converts this thing? The person who sits in between and converts this thing is Route53. What is that? What is the person? What is the service name? Route53. So basically, this domain names management will be taken care by DNS system. So This DNS system will be taken care by Route 53 in AWS. In AWS, who will take care of your DNS services? Route 53. Sir, why only 53? Why not 63? Because 53 is DNS port number. Remember, 53 is a DNS port number. That's why AWS named this service as Route 53. So, why do AWS uses this Route 53? This AWS uses this Route 53 for providing DNS services. Now, let's say I want this domain name, that is www.btechspark.com. Then what I do? I'll go for Route 53 in AWS. I'll open this Route 53, and what I will do is I'll create this domain name for me, where I'll map whatever the requests that are coming to this domain name to this load balancer address. So this address I want to map. So whenever I'm creating my domain name, I'd like to map it to this address, so that whatever the users or clients requested for my domain name, my request will forward it to this elastic load balancer address, and then it will be distributed, right? Yeah. So why this Route 53 is used? It is used to provide me the ability to create domain names, and you can able to manage your domain names as well. So let's say I created my domain name. Now at that time, what happens? My client requests for my domain name, right? Yeah. So my client requests for my domain name. So what is the domain name that I have created? www.btechspark.com, right? Yeah. So that is my domain name that I have created. My client will request for this, whatever the domain name that I have created. So whenever he requests for this domain name, whenever my client requests for this domain name, then what happens is my request will first, whenever my client requests this domain name in Google, then what happens? What happens is my request will first send to Route 53. This request will first reach to Route 53. This Route 53 acts like a phone book. This Route 53 acts like a phone book. So what you do in mobile, if you want to call for a person, you just click on the person name and you call for the person. Then what happens in the back end of your phone? When we call a person, the call goes to number, which is mapped to the name, right? Yeah. So in the phone book, whatever the number which is mapped to the name, for that number your call goes. In the similar way, if you request for this www.btechspark.com website, then this Route 53 will map your request to this elastic load balancer. This elastic load balancer. So to whom the request will be routed? This elastic load balancer. What are the elastic load balancers that I have created? So for that, the request will be routed. And then the elastic load balancer will send the traffic to either any one of the server, which is free based on the round robin method. And then the data is processed and got the response to the client in the same way back. Since Route 53 is a DNS service, do I need to learn about this? Yeah. So in this video, let us learn about AWS Route 53 service. So which service we're gonna learn in this video? AWS Route 53. So let's recap the things that what we have discussed till now. So why this Route 53 used? So what does this Route 53 will provide you? It provides you an ability. It provides you an ability to create and manage your domain name, right? Yeah. So it provides or else Route 53 will provides us the ability to create domain names. What? Domain names. And manage our domain names. We can able to create and even manage our domain names. Create and manage our domain names by using this Route 53 service. Right? Yeah. So we can able to create and manage our domain names. So can we say Route 53 is a DNS service? Yes. Route 53 is a DNS service. So what we do by using this DNS service, we can able to create and manage our domain names, right? Yes. So we can able to create and manage our domain names. So who is providing this? It is provided by AWS. It is provided by whom? AWS. So this Route 53 is a DNS service used for creation and management of what? Domain names, or creation and management of DNS services, and it will provided by whom? AWS. Right? Yeah. Now, can I able to create my domain name under Route 53 service? Yes, we can able to create our domain name under Route 53 service. So let's see what happened when we create a domain name under Route 53 service. Let's say when we create a domain name in Route 53. So when we create a domain name in Route 53, then what happens? What happens? So it is the first question that we encountered now. So what happens when we create a domain name in Route 53? So whenever you created a domain name, so for your domain name, DNS for your domain name, who is the authoritative person? Who is the authoritative person for your DNS domain name? This Route 53 only, right? Yes. This Route 53 is the DNS authoritative person for your domain name. So Route 53 becomes authoritative DNS for your domain name. Now, if you create a domain name in Route 53, then for your domain name, who creates the host zone? Who creates the host zone? This Route 53 only creates the host zone. Who creates? This Route 53 only creates the host zone for you. Is this host zone is publicly available or private? Private to you only. Do you are the only person who access your website, or all the clients will access your website? All the clients need to access, right? So is this hosted zone need to be public or private? It needs to be public, right? Yeah. So who creates this public hosted zone? This Route 53 only creates. Who? This Route 53 will create this public hosted zone as well. So whenever we create a domain name, then Route 53 will becomes authoritative DNS. Authoritative DNS for your domain name, and it only creates your public hosted zone, public host zone. Right? Yeah. So what is this public host zone, sir? What is this public host zone? It defines how traffic is routed on the internet. That means, let's say you have your own laptop and you hosted your application on your own laptop. Then that is privately you hosted your application, or else you can you put some file in your file manager. Now, can you able to access that file from internet? Yes, you can able to access that file from internet by using the file path which is present in your laptop, right? Yeah. You can see here, you can see here, this is a file. This is a PDF file which is present on my laptop. So can I able to access it by using some URL? Yes. So I can able to access it by using some URL. Since it's a file which is present under my C drive users, some username under this downloads, this is my file name. So here I can able to access this file. So file not found, which was the error that I got. So again, if I use this same, yeah, you can able to see, I can able to access it. I think some URL will be misplaced there. So by using this URL, I can able to access the file. You can see, yeah. So if you try with the same URL, whatever I typed here, if you try with the same URL, you can't access it because it is locally present in my system. It is not present globally. That means it is hosted locally to only my system. It is not globally hosted. The zone of this file, the hosting zone of this file is local. That means private to me only. In my system only, I can able to access it. It is not hosted in publicly. So everybody can't access it from internet, right? Yeah. So you can see I opened my Edge and typed this so that I can able to access it because it is present in my system because it's a privately hosted for me. Now I hosted my btechspark.com website. Now what I expect? Do I expect to access this website only by me or all the clients? I want to provide my service to all the clients. So I need to put it in public hosted zone, not a private hosted zone. You can see, right? Previously, you have seen one file which is present under private hosted zone. You cannot able to access it from your Google Drive, from your Google or Edge browsers. So, but if you open a website which is hosted under public hosted zone, then it will be accessible by any client from anywhere. From internet you can able to access, that is from Edge you can able to access, or Chrome you can able to access. You just click this, what are the public hosted name, domain name, you can able to access that website. So that is how the difference between public hosted zone and private hosted zone. You can assume this public hosted zone. So in internet, I am the only person who create these domain names. No, right? So there are multiple users and everyone will create their own public host zone and they host their DNS, right? And they host their domain name and they use that domain name service, right? Yeah. So what does this public hosted zone defines is how how the traffic is routed on the internet. How the traffic is routed on the internet. How the traffic is routed on the internet to access your domain. How the traffic is routed on the internet, so that will be told by using this public hosted zone. So how can you compare the private hosted zone? Previously you have seen one example and I'd like to provide you one more example in AWS. That is, it defines how your request routed in your VPC. So in private hosted zone, what does it defines? Private hosted zone. So what does this private hosted zone defines? It defines how how your traffic is routed in your VPC. How your traffic is routed in your VPC, right? Yeah. So in your VPC, you are having multiple private instances. In your VPC, you have multiple private instances. So among those instances, if you want to pick one instance from among those instances, then your traffic need to correctly route it to that instance, right? Yeah. So this private hosted zone indicates that the type of routing in your private network, right? Yeah. So in order to provide this private hosted zone, so what do we require? We require two things to provide private hosted zone. We require two things. What are the two things? We require two things. What are the two things? First one is DNS host name. First one is what? DNS host name. DNS host name. And second one is DNS support. DNS support. So these are the two things that we must require to host in private zone, to host any IP address in your private zone, to host anything in your private zone. Okay. Now, how these hosted zones are made of? How these hosted zones are made of, sir? These hosted zones are made of records. So what? How these hosted zones are made of? These hosted zones are made of what? These hosted zones are made of records, right? Yeah. So there are many records. Among them, let us discuss important records. So we have mainly two important types of records. We mainly focus on two important types of records. What are they? Is first type of record is name server, and second type of record is start of authority. Name server record. First record is name server record, and second one is SOA record. So what does SOA indicates? Start of authority. So what does this name server record indicates? So what does this name server indicates? So this name server will this name server is used this name server is used to identify your DNS server in hosted zone. Why this name server is used? It is used to identify. It is used to identify DNS server. Whatever the DNS server that you use, whatever the DNS server that you created in hosted zone. So that will be identified by using this name server. So what this DNS server will do? This DNS server will provide your IP address. This DNS server will provide IP address corresponding to whatever the domain name that you provided. So when you are requesting for a domain name, or else when you type this btechspark.com in Google, then what happens is your browser look for the domain name. So who gives your domain name is this DNS server. So by using what this DNS server is identified is by using the name server. By using the name server only, your DNS server is identified in the hosted zone, and this DNS server will provide you IP address or another, or it will provide you other domain name. So sometimes it might happens, right? Yeah. So if you request for google.com or www.google.com or https www.google.com, so every request will be forwarded to same website, right? Yeah. So like that, it will provide you the other domain as well, right? Yeah. So what does this SOA? What does this SOA record contain? This we have received about, we have discussed about name server record. Now let us discuss about this SOA record. So these are important records. So you must need to know about these two. This SOA record is like information center. What? Information center of your zone. It is like information center. It is like information center of your zone. To your whole zone, it is like information center. It provides you correct information about DNS service in the hosted zone. It provides correct information. It provides correct information about DNS servers in hosted zone. So in the hosted zone, it provides you DNS servers information correctly. It provides you only the truth information. So these are the two records that you need to remember. So these are the two important records that you need to remember. What are they? Name server record and DNS server record. So what is this name server record? It is used to identify DNS in your hosted zone. So after identifying your DNS server only, you can able to get the IP address from your domain name or other domain name for your domain name, for your requested domain name. So coming to this start of authority, what does it indicates? It provides, it's like a information center for your zone where it provides you correct information regarding your DNS server, right? Yeah. To integrate, to integrate your domain name to existing DNS, to integrate your domain name to existing DNS, these two records, what are those two? Name server record as well as SOA, start of authority record. So these two records are very important for you. Okay. So let us write that point as well at the end. To integrate, to integrate your domain name to existing, to integrate your domain name to existing DNS system. These two records are important. So what are the two records? NS record, that is name server record, and SOA record, that is start of authority record. So let us write here shortcut as well. NS record. Okay. So in order to integrate our domain name with existing DNS, these two are important that you said just now. Now, how many name server records that this Route 53 will create, and how many SOA records that this Route 53 will create for a newly created domain name? For a newly created domain name, how many name server records and how many SOA records that this Route 53 will create for us? This Route 53 will create 4 name server records and 1 SOA record. So this Route 53 will create 4 NS records, that is name server, name server record and name server records and 1 SOA record for each hosted zone, for each hosted zone. For each hosted zone, this Route 53 will create 4 NS records and 1 SOA record. Okay. I hope I hope you understood when do we use this Route 53 and what we can able to do by using this Route 53 and what is public hosted zone and private hosted zone. So whenever we create a domain name in the Route 53, what happens? You understood. And what are the important records? What are the important records that we use under hosted zone? And how many name server records or SOA records that will be created by this Route 53 whenever we create a public hosted zone. So that also you understood, I think, from this video. I feel this video is contentful. If you feel this video is contentful, then please like, share, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to get the latest updates. In the next video, we will discuss about some more commonly used record types. Not only for Route 53, even Route 53 also support those commonly used record types. And in the next video, you'll see some more commonly used record types. Thanks for watching again. See you back in the next video with this topic, whatever we said now. So until then, bye bye guys. Thanks for watching again.